Hi y'all, it's Kimberly here. Today I'm going to do a little video about living in Texas. As y'all haven't guessed, I am from Texas. I have just a list of questions and some things that I've actually heard and people have asked me about, after they moved here from some of their state. And are the people really friendly? Yes, they are. I think we do have a lot of friendly. I think the behavior here is more friendly. I guess we're a little bit more laid back, and people seem, pretty happy here. And I like the atmosphere in this state. I do like the way people are. They're ready to help you for anything. I've had car problems. I've had issues, things, and total strangers have helped me just off the street. Let's see. Does everybody ride a horse? No. Although we do have a whole lot of horses in this state. They're everywhere. I do know how to ride a horse. I don't own one. Someday I would love to own a horse. I can tack one up. I can saddle it, bridle it, and ride one at full gallop if need be. Yeah, someday I would love to. I'd like to rescue horses. If I do get some land that's in my retirement, that's one of the things I would really love to do. And actually, to elaborate on that, you used to could ride horses through town in the little town or the bigger town I lived in. At one point when I was growing up, I think the population was like between, I don't know, 130,000 to maybe 150,000, maybe a little less. And every once in a while you would see people riding horses through town, but we didn't really have that much traffic. We did have busy streets, and we had a pretty good sized city there, but it wasn't such a big deal. But now I think you might have to have a permit or something. And on the outskirts of town, I have seen people riding horses into town if they live close by. And yeah, I've pulled up to the Town and Country, or no, they're called Strops now. I've pulled up to Strops and parked my car next to a horse that's tied up next to the, with the little metal car guards that they have, so you don't run into the store. Yeah, several times that's happened, or I've driven down the street coming into town, and there's been people riding horses. It's not so uncommon. And guns. Does everybody own a gun? No, but a lot of people own guns, and it's a big, huge issue in Texas. I mean, you have to take somebody's gun away from their pride out of their cold, dead hand. That is one right that keeps people voting Republican in the state a lot, I believe, because this is primarily a Republican state. With what's happening now, I think it's turning a little bit, but not quite enough. It's a pretty conservative state, so the protection of being able to own a firearm is one of the main things in Texas. It's just a huge deal. And we do have the castle law, which means you can protect yourself using a gun or even a knife or a weapon to protect yourself from an intruder, or even if you're not even in your home, if you're at work, you have the right to use a gun for force to protect your family or friends or even your property. And when I was a teenager, one of my friends' boyfriend broke into somebody's car at the university here in town, and the college student had a gun, I think in his room or either in the car. The kid took off running, and he got shot him in the ass, and he had to lay down for like 3 weeks. He couldn't sit on his rear, and that guy was perfectly within his right to shoot him, because he was trying to either steal the car or steal something inside of it. So you're pretty stupid if you're going to break into somebody's house in Texas, because you will get shot, and most likely the owner will not be charged with a crime, because we have the right to protect ourselves that way. And a lot of Texas is a huge state. The landmass is very large, so a lot of people live outside the city limits, and most people who live out in the city limits, out in the country, they do own guns. And it takes a long time for, sometimes law enforcement to get there to the house if you live, 30, 40 minutes, an hour away from law enforcement. So you pretty much have to protect yourself. So yes, there's a lot of guns in Texas. Is everything bigger in Texas? Well, yeah, I think a lot of things are big. Well, you have big trucks, a lot of trucks. I mean, pickup trucks. And women drive them too. I drive it's not a big truck, but it's a Yukon. They're very roomy, useful. People use them because a lot of people, they do live out in the country. Like I say, Texas is a huge landmass. We have hundreds of little cities outside of the big cities, and you pretty much need a truck if you're going to have animals, or to bring the feed and repair fences and do things like that if you live out in the country. So trucks are really handy and really useful. And there are car lots everywhere with brand new trucks. Every year when the new trucks come out, I mean, it's just a big shiny row of trucks, hundreds of them. Hair, it used to be really big. The beehive used to be huge in Texas, and it kind of faded away, I think, in the end of the 70s, coming into the early 80s. I would see, every once in a while, I'd see an older lady with a beehive hairdo. My mom had one for a while, but she kept cutting her hair shorter and shorter because she had 3 kids, and she was a single mother, and it was just too much work those things are works of art. And the last time I saw a beehive, I mean like a really big, tall beehive that was like a couple of stacks high, 2 or 3 stacks high, it was like a couple of years ago in the Dollar General. And she's a very elderly lady, probably in her 80s or something. And it was beautiful. I mean, it was really, I think, like a triple stacker. And I mean, it was just perfectly done. And I complimented her on it, and I talked to her a little bit, and I was telling her, those, you don't see them very often, and they're works of art, and she did it herself, and she just said she just couldn't get with the modern hairstyle. She worked on her hair like once a week. She would set it and roll it and do all that and redo it, and she's done it all of her life, she said, so, or since I came in style, I guess. And the food. When you go into a really good restaurant, especially a steakhouse, you're going to get a big plate of food, huge. And with the steaks and the baked potatoes and fries, it covers your whole plate. I mean, you'll get a huge plate of food. And that's one thing I like about Texas, is the food. And it is really hot here. I live in the lower panhandle, and it's really hot. Today it's 93 degrees, and it's about 3 o'clock. And further south, down in the coast, by Corpus Christi and all that, down by the coast, it gets really humid and hot, very hot. And that's one thing I kind of don't like about Texas, is sometimes the heat used to not bother me at all, but as the older I've gotten, yeah, the heat does kind of get to me. And I've thought about moving a little bit further up in the panhandle. I don't know about that, maybe. I'm still thinking about it, but I really don't want to leave Texas because I do love Texas. Football. If you love football, Texas is the place you need to be in. Football is everywhere. Football's king. It is the sport of Texas. And I actually I don't really like football that much. I do support the Dallas Cowboys. I say they're my team. I watch it every once in a while, but I just don't... I really can't sit through a whole game sometimes because they argue so much about every little thing, and you really don't get much play sometimes. So sometimes I just lose interest in it. Except for the 6-man football teams of the little high schools. I do love that. That is more exciting to me than a big football game. I would rather go to a 6-man football team, a small high school game, and you get to see a lot more action. It's just a lot better. I really do like that. Church. Yes, churches everywhere. There are churches everywhere in this state. In the city I lived in, I would say there was probably at least a couple hundred churches. I don't even know. There's so many of them. And are cowboys real? Yes, they are. They are everywhere in the state of Texas. You see them all the time with their boots and jeans and hats, and it's normal, you know. I mean, I suppose in New York or somewhere else, you know, if you saw somebody like that, you'd think they're wearing a costume, but that is everyday wear here. I own boots. I probably own, like, I don't even know, 5 or 6 pair of boots. I do own 2 hats, but I don't wear them. If I rode horses, then I would probably wear them. I might wear them if I go to a rodeo or something, but yeah, I do have my country clothes, and I'm a rock and roll cowgirl is the way I classify myself. I do love country music, but I also love rock music and classical music. And there's kind of like a little saying that if you threw a rock, it would land on a cowboy, bounce off a church, and hit a high school football player. So that kind of covers all 3 of those. And hunting and fishing. Hunting and fishing is really big here, huge. I used to fish a lot, and I've been hunting a few times when I was much younger. I shot at a deer, but I didn't hit it. I think it was like about a 4-point buck, but I missed it. And I do like fishing, and we used to catch a ton of catfish. There's tons of catfish that all kinds of lakes and everywhere. All kinds of fishing goes on here, but you better make sure you have a permit, because they will either arrest you or fine you. You make sure you have your permit. And same thing with hunting. You better have your permits and all your tags and everything, because if you are poaching or doing something wrong, they'll arrest you on the spot. They don't play around with that here. And let's see, prairie dogs, horny toads, but they're actually called horned toads, but a lot of us call them horny toads. Armadillos, wild boar, rattlesnakes, lots of snakes, lizards, tarantulas. Now, a lot of that, some of it's more in the arid, really dry areas. You can find those tarantula. I do have some tarantula videos that I found in my front yard, and I've seen probably 2 dozen rattlesnakes and water moccasins, and we used to collect lizards when we were little, play with the lizards and all that. I had a garter snake when I was a kid as a pet that I found in the yard, and that's some of the wildlife that's here. Our state bird is the mockingbird. Prairie dogs are these cute little, they're like, I don't know if they're really classified as rodents, I don't know. But they're just little cute, animals. They're about this big, yay big. And they dig holes, and they're kind of considered a nuisance to cattlemen and people who own horses, because horses put their legs in the holes and they break their legs, you know, and so they kind of eradicate them or try to move them out of the area. And well, a lot of times if you own horses around this area, or I guess it's probably in a lot of parts of the country, if you do own livestock or horses, if the town expands, they will grandfather it in, and you can keep your horses in the middle of town. Because in the city I came from, there was a well-known house, this big, beautiful house, and it was about a half an acre, and they had horses there, and it had a big old fence, like very tall, like, I don't know, like 12 feet, and it was stone and wrought iron or whatever, protecting the horses, you know, make sure nobody messed with them. And yeah, sometimes there's horses. You might buy a really nice, big, pretty house, and then 2 blocks over there's a bunch of chickens and horses. And I think the pigs, really, they don't like pigs, because the stink is really bad. Pigs really do stink, but they're really good animals. I would love to have a pet pig. Well, I'm probably going to do a second part of this. I'll probably post that tomorrow, but that's just a little bit of what it's like to live in Texas. And well, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much.